Good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, Optimising Focus and Mastering Distraction with Wendy Cole. Today, you are listening using your computer speaker system by default. You have the opportunity to submit questions to Wendy by typing them into the questions pane on the control panel. You may send in your questions at any time. We will collect these and address them during the presentation. Wendy is the founding director of iMastery and an inspiring executive productivity advisor, speaker, and coach. Wendy designs and facilitates leadership and productivity training to support busy professionals and organisations to optimise focus, master distraction, elevate employee engagement and profitability. Participants value Wendy's hands-on experience as a business owner, general manager, consultant, recruiter, psychology graduate, and parent. Clients enjoy the real-world perspective that she brings to her workshops. In her personal life, Wendy enjoys spending time with her family, daily walks with her dog, and is grateful when she can consistently get to 3 or more yoga classes a week. I will now hand this over to Wendy.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Ida. Great to be here with you this morning. Today, we've got a fabulous preview of iMastery's Better Ways of Working, which is an online series of 7 masterclasses. Today, we'll be deep diving into tips and techniques to help you win back 30 minutes a day in, day out, and to optimize our focus, master distraction, and have a greater sense of control over our workload and the impact that we can have with our clients and the people that we're helping. So more specifically, we're going to look at, whoops, there's my clicker not working, one moment. More specifically, we're going to look at the why. Why would we want to optimize our focus and master distraction? What's the fuss with multitasking? And indeed, what's the alternative to multitasking? How might we strengthen what's also called our attentional intelligence, our capacity for focus? And what are some practical tips? How can we win back time? And we'll look at Parkinsons Law and the Pomodoro Technique today for that. So a little bit of context. Firstly, let's look into the value of 30 minutes. When you look at the maths behind that, if we can win back 30 minutes in our day, it actually equates to an extra 3 working weeks a year. So my question for you is, and if you do have pen and paper handy, I'd love for you to make a note of this, is what could you do with an extra 30 minutes a day, and what could you do with that compounded amount of time at 3 working weeks a year? I know for myself, Ida put there in the intro that I feel incredibly grateful when I can get to 3 or more yoga classes a week. So for me, it would be putting a bit more yoga in my week. Oh my Lord, at the moment, it's like a zoo when I do yoga because I'm doing an online class in a very small inner city townhouse with kids and dogs and God knows what, however many distractions. So always makes me laugh. Moving along, context. I do like to say this at the start of every piece of work that I do in the space of productivity and time management. When it comes to time management, optimizing our focus, there's not a one size that fits all. I had the privilege of facilitating training and coaching for, I'm in my 2nd decade of this work. I was about to say 12 or 13 years. I think it's more like 14 or 15 now. And I really, really learned at a first-hand, tangible level that some of the tips and strategies that work for one person may or may not work for somebody else. And indeed, even the phase of life that we're in, and jeepers, if you're in Melbourne, I'm feeling your pain, the lockdown conditions we're experiencing, all of these things influence what productivity, what time management, what energy management tips and techniques are going to work to enable us to optimize our focus and win back this time. The good thing is that they're all learnt behaviours. None of us were born knowing how to manage masses of email and competing demands and juggling all these different things. So we can learn these skills. Another point there is sometimes what I can talk about can feel incredibly common sense. But there's this thing called the intention behaviour gap. And many of us, and common sense comes into this, many of us first think, yeah, that's common sense, I know that. but actually, despite our intentions for doing something, we don't actually do that on a habitual manner day in, day out. So if you're hearing something you've heard before, I really urge you to think, hey, am I applying that? Am I leveraging and getting its full advantage? So let's check in. Ida, if you could pop up that poll for us. I'd love to hear how focused and productive you're feeling today. A poll will come up for you to answer, and you answer that anonymously. There's lots of text there to read, so I'll give you just a couple of 30, 45 seconds to read all that. How focused are you feeling today? Got my printer going in the background. Goodness, sorry about that. I didn't know there was something, a school project sitting there waiting to be printed. You're hearing a whirring noise, that's what that is. Great. So, Ida, have we got a couple of responses coming through? If we have, let's share those results now, end the poll and share the results. Oh, good. Okay, so most of us are feeling okay but could improve. Nearly a third of us are feeling like we've lost a little bit of mojo. It's certainly been a challenging year. 14% are juggling homeschooling and various other commitments at home, and it's just really, really hard. But great to see some people are nailing it. That's super, super good. All right, we can close that poll. Thank you for your feedback. That helps me understand where to pitch things at. So let's move along and look at the why. Why did we want to optimize our focus and master distraction? In addition to our own individual reasons, here are 3 key points. The first one here is that getting things done, optimizing our focus, is key to motivation. The most motivating condition we experience at work is making progress towards something that's personally meaningful. The second tip there comes from the wonderful research from Google's Project Oxygen. It's a longitudinal study looking at the impact of key attributes on leaders on high-performing teams. And the number 4 leadership attribute of high-performing leaders and teams is being results-orientated and productive. People like to work with organised, focused people who get things done. The third point there is fairly obvious. Getting things done, optimising our focus, mastering distraction is a high-performance habit. And as we highlighted at the beginning there, time compounds. And 30 minutes of time that we can win back consistently through the way that we work day in, day out equates to 3 working years, 3 working weeks a year. So further to the point of why would we want to optimize our focus and master distractions, this is research conducted from iMastery's respondents to surveys before participating in training in May and June of this year. All of the participants were working from home and in various corona chaos type situations. And in this scenario, 65% of respondents, and it's a decent sample size of 188 participants, 65% feel they could be more organised and productive at work. So let's delve into multitasking. What is the fuss with multitasking? And if you can see the screen, the meme, of course, reads, hello, you're not multitasking, you're just doing lots of stuff really bad. And the image is like that. So the neuroscience actually supports this funny meme. And specifically, if we look at this image of the brain, the blue area, this prefrontal cortex, or is often called the executive function of our brain, this is the area that actually doesn't multitask. Now, this is an interesting diagram because it looks like it's a really large part of our brain. But it is from a surface area perspective, but from a volume of the brain, it's only 10%. It's the area of the brain that really helps to distinguish us as humans, and the most recently evolved part of our brain. This executive function is essentially what we're used as in our work as knowledge workers. And it's responsible for many skills, including our working memory, our cognitive flexibility, our impulse control, which is another way of saying our willpower. It's what we use to pay attention, to organize, to plan and prioritize. It's what we use to plan for the future and map out what we're trying to accomplish and the contribution we're trying to make to the business and our clients. And it's the part of our brain that we use to understand different points of view and regulate our emotions. So it's an incredibly important and human element of our brain. And it's what we use at work. This is the part of our brain that doesn't multitasking. And interesting, the neuroscience shows that the more we multitask, and we actually are multitasking, we're switching from task to task that requires our prefrontal cortex, this part of the brain, the worse we do at everything. So unlike most things where repetition increases our proficiency and our performance, when it comes to using our cognitive abilities and thinking using the prefrontal cortex, the more we switch from one task to the next, actually we're frying our brains and the worse that we get at everything. More specifically, this switching increases our error rate, increases the time it takes to get things done, and it increases our stress. So they measure the cortisol in our bodies, and the research papers, when you read them, are quite interesting. Often they're on university students and they get them doing puzzles and thinking and planning, and they swap them around and then quickly measure their cortisol levels. And the more they switch from task to task, the survey participants or the research participants, the higher their cortisol level goes. This switching also increases our distraction and reduces our capacity to focus and our capacity to tap into our willpower. This is detrimental to efficient use of time and efficient well-being as well. So a question, let's apply this simplistically to our work. Always online. When you are at your desk, is your inbox always open? And if you're not into this, you're not alone. Again, research from iMastery's respondents in May and June showed that 93% of people have their inbox open all of the time. So that's all good and well, but let's say we are wanting to focus and get something down. Let's get something done. Imagine that you're set yourself a deadline, or you have a hard deadline, something's got to get to a printer, a design piece has got to get finished, and you go, all right, I'm smashing this out. Maybe it's a report, maybe it's some planning. I've got my inbox open, but I am not going to look at any new email that comes in because I just want to get this done and off my plate. Despite your best intentions, have you ever noticed how much energy it costs to stay focused? Here's the thing, why are we so easily distracted, even when we have the best intention to focus? Like it or not, our brains are hardwired to be distracted. From an evolutionary perspective, this has served us very well. Listen to this. Imagine, if you like, where it's a beautiful warm summer's day, we're walking along that bush track and we're enjoying our time in nature. We're maybe doing some forest bathing, and I'll talk to that point in a minute throughout the session. And we just see that little twiver in the corner of our eye, or you hear a rustle and you look down there at your right foot and go, holy mackerel, that is a very large tiger snake. Kids, stand back and let's that go that way so that we can then continue to the path. Now that has happened to me a couple of times, and I can feel that evolutionary response and my heart absolutely beating. And so it has served us. One of the preeminent theories is it has served us very well to notice these distractions. And if you like, we're hardwired to notice them because it has been primal in preserving us or protecting us from predators. Just as we're hardwired for distraction, our brains are also built to ignore the old but focus on the new. And novelty causes dopamine to be released. Dopamine is the neurotransmitter that drives our behavior and is associated with feelings of vitality and happiness. It's this dopamine is kind of like the gimme more chemical, and it's quite literally involved in addictive behaviors. The challenge, of course, with this in the modern world is devices such as our lovely smartphones deliver us with an endless supply of novelty. And this comes at a serious cost to our attention and capacity for cognitively demanding but inherently rewarding work. Short-term gratification trumps because of the dopamine. And liking it or not, our brains are constantly seeking that new shiny object. So with that question, is your inbox always open, even when you're trying to focus? This is why we want to notice the pings and tings, and we end up checking them. So quite literally, we've become addicted to distraction. Check out this data, and it's from Rescue Time survey released in 2019 with considerable data showing that the average adult now only goes just 6 minutes before a quick check of their phone or email or inbox or any other device that you like. So quite literally, we're our own worst enemy now in terms of being able to focus. We are the ones that distract ourselves the most. Now, if we're doing what's called shallow or light work, checking an email here, quickly sending something off there, and we then go down on the tangent to the new email that's popped through, that break is costing us about 64 seconds, which, you know, done 20 times, which can happen, is 20 minutes. The real cost, though, that quickly compounds is when we are actually in this more state of flow of concentrating, doing the cognitively demanding work or this deep work. When we're interrupted, and when we're interrupting ourselves just to check, it takes somewhere between 15 and 25 minutes to get our thinking back to where it was before we were interrupted. 41% of the time, research shows we don't even go back to that task there and then. Now you do the back of the envelope calculations on that, and it comes out that more than half a working day, we're either distracted or recovering from distractions. And I like to think of it from a cup half full perspective. If I can just remove 4 interruptions because of the way that I strategically set up my day, I've essentially won back every bit of an hour in my working day. Now, if 30 minutes of time equates to 3 working weeks compounded over a year, an hour a day compounds to 6 working weeks over a year. That's certainly worth fighting for. So what is the alternative? I think Lunick has a point. If we'd like to enjoy the motivating sense of progress that comes with accomplishing meaningful work, we have to continue to upgrade our strategies and infrastructure to optimize focus, master distraction, and enable what's called deep work. What is deep work? Hal Newport, the author of a book called Deep Work, and this is the image of it here, is an associate professor of computer science, actually, at Georgetown University, and he coined the term. Specifically, deep work is the ability to focus without distraction on a cognitively demanding task. So for most of us, email is the antithesis of deep work. iMastery's current data reveals that 65 of us knowledge workers are spending more than 2 hours a day on email. And because of its addictive nature and its distracting nature, excuse me, I think email is a great place to start to master distractions and win back some of this important time. And the first practical tip to this is to turn off your new email alerts. This can be done in any platform that you use, whether that's Gmail, Outlook, or anything else. I would go so far, and I certainly have turned off my email alerts on my phone and my email. So this, I use Outlook, and this is what you would do to remove them, and I'll include some follow-up resources that I'll email to Ida, who I'm sure will share with you all around how to turn off your email alerts. I promise you, you will not forget to check your emails, but you might just win back from this tip alone every bit of 10 minutes a day and quite possibly 30 minutes a day just from this one tip alone. The next practical tip and technique to win back some time and reduce the distracting nature of email is to stay out of your inbox. Process your emails somewhere between 3 and 6 times a day, depending on your job and how reactive you need to be and responsive you need to be for your stakeholders. There are some people who only process emails once a day. Now, I'd imagine most of you have a customer service or a customer responsive element to your role. So once a day probably won't be frequent enough. But even getting it down to 4 times, once in the morning, once before lunch, mid-afternoon, and before closing out your day, that will win you back a lot of time in your calendar, because you're going into your inbox with a specific strategy to process your emails, respond or assign them to your to-do list, and then get out of it. In the Better Ways of Working online masterclass series, we spend about 75 minutes on hardcore strategy on how to work from your calendar and your to-do list rather than your inbox. Another tip I wanted to share with you about how to optimize our focus is when we want to do this deep work, when we want to focus and work really efficiently, we want to retreat to quiet places. Now, I've got that image of the headphone there because if you're working from home, originally we thought, wow, this is great. Working from the home has far less distractions than an open plan office. Yes, until the whole household is working from home as well, whether that be noisy flatmates and housemates or demanding children doing homeschooling or even, you know, your significant other. My partner, Michael, has the most incredibly loud voice on the phone, I think. And in his role, he needs to be on the phone quite a bit and I need to be facilitating quite a bit. So we're a noisy household. So if you are wanting to get some quality deep thinking or really productive work, power through a to-do list, then retreat to these quiet places. And that may just involve putting on earphones. I recommend doing deep work in 90-minute intervals. There's science showing that we focus in a cycle, a little bit like a sleep cycle, where it ebbs and flows over 90 minutes. And when we are focusing, because our brains are hardwired for distraction, we want to turn off every device that we can. If it's appropriate for your physiology, then coffee definitely helps to hone our attention and give us that little bit more energy. And of course, water is incredibly important. Staying hydrated has been proven to help us to maintain focus and boost our cognitive performance. Of course, despite our best intentions, then we will from time to time be interrupted. So in our 90-minute peak focus moments. So when we are interrupted, take 30 seconds, literally grab a Post-it note and make what's called a cognitive bookmark. So, you know, if I've said to at the moment, my housemates and my children, and if I've said to the girls, hey, it's mummy's time to work, this is typically in the afternoon at the moment. I normally get my attention in the morning for homeschooling, and then I work in the afternoon and once they've gone to bed. But if I'm in my deep work and they come with an interruption, I go, hang on a sec, Sage, one of my daughter's name, and I literally grab a pen and notepad and take that thought down. Now, I used to do that in the workplace as well, because if we can capture where we're thinking, it makes it much easier to return, and we probably don't take 15 to 25 minutes to get our thinking back to where it was before we were interrupted. It's something too, you don't want to be passively aggressive about it, but just clear and obvious to our interrupter that they are distracting us. And if next time they could hold that thought to when I wasn't in deep focus, that would be fabulous. So I hope that little tip helps. I like to share the tip about meditation, particularly at the moment, because there's just so much going on, in the corona chaos. So meditation definitely has been shown to have very many benefits. In the masterclass series, Better Ways of Working, we really have a whole masterclass, a whole 75 minutes dedicated to things like meditation, gratitude, and other wellness tips and techniques that boost our wellness, but also have a fabulous impact on our productivity, our ability to focus, and to get this rewarding work done. So meditation has been shown to increase blood circulation to our brains, our capacity to plan, focus, memory, and many more. So as a quick tip, could you find 10 minutes a day to meditate, and possibly at lunchtime? I love the concept that meditation is like the antidote to the fast-paced modern world. And brain scans show that a regular practice of as little as 10 minutes a day can truly change the grey matter and the white matter in our brains. And as well as making us happier and less stressful, it's truly shown to increase our ability to focus and block out distractions, which is great for our productivity. So if you haven't got a meditation practice and you'd love to learn some more, I personally use these 3 apps: Smiling Mind, Headspace, and One Giant Mind. Smiling Mind and One Giant Mind are Australian-based apps and they're free. Headspace, you pay an annual subscription, but you get a number of months free trial. And the TED Talk by the founder of Headspace, Andy Puddicombe, is called All It Takes is 10 Mindful Minutes. And I strongly recommend watching that TED Talk. It's truly fun. And Andy is a great facilitator. He's a corporate London banker who went to Buddhist monk for a little while and is now back in this wellness space on this journey to spread the word of meditation. So very broad, purposefully topic today. I just wanted to really give you a taster of all the different things we cover in the Better Ways of Working program, and also now, so that you've got a whole smorgasbord of ideas that you could quickly try and see whether it adds value. Have a look at this photo if you're online looking at the screen. Trees, greenery, and blue sky peeking behind. So in Japan, they have a wonderful term called forest bathing. And the science has cottoned on to this, and it's called attention restoration theory, or ART. And time in nature has been shown scientifically to increase our productivity. It has many benefits, but it doesn't have to be bathing in the Japanese forest, as much as that would be lovely. It's obviously out of reach for us in Australia at the moment. Any time outside in the natural elements has been shown to increase our productivity. So here's a photo of me walking and talking with the dog in the background on a grey, wintry Melbourne day. So coming back to our final practical tips for today, what can Parkinsons Law and the Pomodoro Technique offer us in terms of winning back time in our days, powering through what we might avoid, whether that's marketing calls or content development? Everyone will have different things that they need to do that probably they're avoiding a little bit. So how can we strengthen our connection to getting something done and really enhance our impact? And Parkinson's Law and Pomodoro Technique are 2 of my favourite things at the moment, particularly working from home. So Parkinson's Law, you may have heard of it, is the concept that work expands to fill the time available for its completion. And it has many applications, but it really is applicable from a time management perspective. So ever noticed that, you know, it's kind of like you want something done, give it to a busy person. Ever noticed if you've got not much pressure on, or you're getting used to working a longer and longer day because you're working from home, that work sort of stretches a bit and things are taking a bit longer? That's Parkinson's Law clicking in. And for some of us working from home, when we don't have that same ritual of leaving home, commuting to an office, starting at the office, finishing at a certain time and coming home, work is really spreading over our day and even longer time. Now, if that's what you want to do, that's totally cool. But many of us want to sort of rein that in and put appropriate boundaries still on our work time and enjoy our personal lives too. So the Pomodoro Technique, you may have heard of it. It makes use of a timer, and it gets its name from the kitchen timer that's in the shape of an Italian Pomodoro tomato. You might have seen them before, and you turn them for the kitchen timer, an old-fashioned sort of thing, probably from the 70s. I certainly remember them from my childhood. And the Pomodoro Technique is really good for reining things in, so setting the time boundaries and getting the best out of Parkinson's Law. And I find it useful if I'm avoiding something or I just want to smash something out. And it prescribes working with a very singular focus with no distractions, just in short 25-minute intervals. And the theory is you set your timer, you work for 25 minutes without distraction. Absolutely no other apps need open, everything shut down, phone on flight mode, like seriously, but it's only for 25 minutes. And then once you've done 25 minutes work, you get up and move your body. You quite literally have a stretch. You might grab a quick tea or coffee, drink water, and then you're straight back to it. And then after 4 Pomodoros or 100 minutes of work time, you can have a longer break or change topics. So as a quick summary, how do we apply the Pomodoro Technique? Grab a timer. I use this app here, Focus at Will, because it has a timer and it also plays music that's scientifically proven to increase our focus. Select a task. Ideally start small. So it might be like, right, for the next 25 minutes, all I'm doing is picking up the phone and calling clients. Or I might be writing some content for marketing emails. Or for you guys in the creative space, it might be like, okay, I'm just going to design for 25 minutes. Remove all distractions, work with this intense focus. As I mentioned, have that 5-minute stretch break. And then over time, you want to build it instead of just in that focus for 25-minute intervals and then taking a 5-minute break. See if you can build up to 50-minute intervals and a 10-minute break. I feel like I've been talking lots. So what could you apply? Would you have a go at turning off new email message alerts? Could you process your emails less often? And this word processing is really key. It's going in there and reading your email and making a decision what to do with it and then getting out of your inbox. Could you more intentionally retreat to quiet places for deep work, even if that is the same space, but you're putting on your headphones, you're clearing the clutter, and you're turning off your alerts? Could you schedule this deep work in your calendar? 2 90-minute intervals a day can be optimal, or if you're using the Pomodoro techniques, the 100-minute intervals. Would you love to get outside and do some forest bathing? Would you like to strengthen your meditation practice? Can you really use Parkinson's Law and the Pomodoro sprints to power through something? So Ida, I'll get you to pop up that last poll, and I'd really love your insights there. Take a few seconds to do that. I'm just going to grab a water. I'll leave you to close that off when you think it's appropriate, Ida, and then share the results. Let's have a look. Oh, wow, meditation's the most popular. Excellent. So many hidden benefits to it as well. So it looks hard. It seems easier than it is. And if you're not finding, most people prescribe meditation at the beginning or the end of the day. In case it's useful, I've actually found, for me, the time when I most consistently meditate is when I can get it done at a lunchtime. And then turning off new message alerts as well. All right, and the Pomodoro and forest bathing, gorgeous. All right, close that off. So in summary, got a nice little quote here that I love from Dr. Seuss. You have brains in your head, you have feet in your shoes. You can steer yourself in any direction you choose. You're on your own and you know what you know. You're the one who'll decide where to go. So optimizing focus, mastering distractions, and enjoying this inherently motivating condition of making progress with something that's personally meaningful is all within our realm of influencing, particularly, I think, even more working from home. Okay, it's super challenging if you've got kids at home as well, needing your homeschooling assistance, but fingers and toes crossed, in Victoria, they can go back to school in term 4, and there's only 3 weeks of term left. Won't be long, and we will be able to regain our focus in that as well. So if this is of interest, what next? I'm definitely here to help. Working from home brings many challenges and many benefits too. It's an excellent opportunity now to reset some work habits and uplift our productivity and our peace of mind. The Better Ways of Working online masterclass series unpacks what I call the trifecta of time, energy, and attention management. And we need all three to be able to thrive in this modern world. We probably need some new tips and insights around specifically setting things up, working from home or working what many of us will be doing in a hybrid sense. Some days from the office and some days from home, and that hybrid combination of workplaces on a regular basis. So more information is available at my website. The next series actually starts Wednesday week. And if you register today and let me know in an email that you have attended today's masterclass, mini masterclass or webinar through the association, then I'd be delighted to offer you a complimentary one-on-one coaching session as part of that online package. So thank you so much for attending today. Please email me with any questions. Do connect on LinkedIn. I post regularly on LinkedIn with some really useful practical tips. You don't need to send me a note, you're welcome to, but you could just find me on LinkedIn and press that connect button and I'll accept. If you're interested in any research about working from home, iMastery conducted very early research in April, and that's available as a free download as well. So that is all from me today. I would love to answer any questions you have. I'll leave that up to you, Ida, to see if there's any questions that have come through the chat.
Thank you, Wendy.
Or if you wanted to take your, unmute yourself or anything like that, you could share, just jump on.
Thank you, Wendy. That was an interesting presentation. I hope our participants have been able to walk away with some great tips, because I certainly have. So thank you very much.
Yes.
As Wendy mentioned, feel free to send her an email should you like to participate in her next session. I will include all that information with the email you will receive from myself with a copy of today's recording and a copy of today's slides. So you can contact her. So it doesn't appear to be any questions.
Okay.
So what we'll do is we'll wrap it up. So on behalf of Wendy and APPA, thank you to all our participants for joining us today, and I hope you all have a great afternoon, and thank you once again, Wendy.
Lovely to have virtually met you all. Thank you for listening. Bye for now.
Thank you.